This episode of the Media Leader podcast was edited by our production partner, Trisonic. For a full range of audio, media buying, and creative services, including podcast production, check out trisonic.co.uk.
I've never had a technology team where my business has gone, you're doing too much, slow down. That's just not an experience I've ever had. They've always said do more. So I can now start to actually do more. So that's super exciting.
Welcome to the Media Leader podcast. I'm Jack Benjamin. This is the second in a series of 2 bonus episodes produced in partnership with our sponsor, Salesforce. In them, we aim to unpack how specific brands are using AI as part of their digital transformation journeys, what specific use cases they've found for it, what hurdles they've had to clear, and more. In part 1, I sat down with Tottenham Hotspur's CTO to talk all things AI, and in part 2, I welcome back Salesforce's Felicity Starr alongside RX Global CIO Robin Tapp to learn how AI is being applied to businesses in the event space. Like part 1, this conversation was recorded from Salesforce's Agentforce World Tour event in London in June. Here it is. I hope you enjoy. For this very special partner episode of the podcast, I am again joined by Salesforce Regional Vice President Felicity Starr, and this time with RX Global Chief Intelligence Officer Robin Tapp. Thanks, both of you, for talking with me today.
Thanks very much.
Thank you for having me.
It's a real pleasure to speak with you both because especially AI has been such an important topic in our industry. And so it's really good to get a sort of on-the-ground understanding of how different businesses within the industry are handling that transformation. But first, Robin, tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do at RX Global.
Thank you. Yeah, so RX Global, we are a trade show organizer largely. We do events, most of which are trade shows. And our mission is to build businesses. So we are partnering with our customers to help them to grow. And that's kind of key to everything we do. We're kind of, when we think about, okay, what do we want to do next? What can we improve? It's all based around that. And I've been with RX Global for, let's just say, more than a decade now. I'm going to stop counting. And one of the lovely things that I get to see and people in our industry get to see if things are working is we get to see an individual show on multiple years, and we get to meet customers who come to one show as a small, 2 people stand, come to another show as 3 or 4 people and a bigger stand, and then ultimately come in as one of our bigger exhibitors. And that's a beautiful thing to watch, particularly if it's been, a family business that we've kind of met and talked to and built a relationship with, and then we see them being successful. So that mantra of wanting to help businesses to grow is a very personal experience, and something, because we're a face-to-face business, our customers are very real and direct to us. We meet them regularly, and, we believe in the power of that connection. And I passionately believe as well that all of our economies are better off with diverse small, medium businesses as well as very large, successful ones. So I love Salesforce to pieces, but I think it would be a shame if only giant businesses like Salesforce existed in the world. So I'm passionate about helping to build those smaller businesses.
And you mentioned that because you're doing lots of events, lots of work is face-to-face, of course, as it should be. So tell me a little bit about where AI starts to come into the business and what you've been doing with regard to integrating it over a period of many years, it sounds like.
Yeah, so, obviously not all that time has been directly related to AI. So I'll just take a moment to give a little bit of background. So when I joined RX, we were a very disparate business around the world. We're very global, right? We're not particularly centered in the UK or the US. We've got lots of different centers around the world. And they all had their own technology stacks, I'm going to say 12 or so years ago. And one of the first things that we identified was that, on coming in, one of the first things that frankly I helped set up as a mission was to say we need to join this stuff together, because if we're going to invest in data and analytics, which we thought at the time, I think now is kind of the precursor to some of what we're talking about today in AI. But we spotted that as a trend, at least a dozen years ago, and said we're going to have one data model. We're going to have, one set of platforms that we can build on. And so kind of that was the first mission in a way, was to kind of one sales platform, one marketing platform, one finance platform, operations, etc. And the corollary of that is not only do we have kind of one data model, but the individual data entities mean the same thing. And that sounds like an obvious statement, but they didn't in the previous set of systems. They might have had similar names sometimes, but they frequently subtly meant different things. And it's very difficult to analyze data at that level. So I think it's really important to get that sorted. And then as we started to get into our digital transformations, again, having data all in one place, having one set of APIs, having a good solid architecture to build on is hugely powerful when you're then rolling out digital capabilities and tools that will help our customers connect at show, help our customers to understand better how they can be successful at show. It's all based on a set of platforms that's stable, and we can roll out tools around the world very quickly. And that also means that if we have a show in the US on one week and we learn something about how our tools could be better, we can implement it in a show in the UK the following week. And again, it kind of, it translates because it's built on a consistent platform. So, and I think I'm strongly of the view that is a hugely important enabler for AI. And I think AI is important, certainly from my perspective, not to think of it as a whole separate thing, but to think of it as a build on an existing strategy around data and analytics. And then I think it can be a huge enabler going forward.
Felicity, is that how businesses are generally thinking about AI in terms of the other conversations you're having with different clients?
Yeah, I mean, the beauty of the world is that all companies and people are quite different. I do love working with Robin and RX because they are doing some very exciting things between, the digital and the events, that intersection. But Robin's absolutely right. To be enabled to take advantage of the new tools, you need to have a system and a culture and an understanding of what you're trying to achieve. So in Robin's case, it's growing businesses. And he is using technology to support that. It's not a case of just saying, oh, AI looks fun, let's go and have a play, without actually focusing on what your end result and goal is. I think lots of companies do approach it differently. RX is very pragmatic, and I love the fact that you're so purpose-driven in terms of, the integrity of what you're doing, very clear roadmap. I would say you're in a fortunate position, but then I think that dumbs down all the work you've done to get yourself into it. So, if you find the word, let me know what it is, but you're in a great position. I think for other companies who maybe are not so fortunate and they still have separate data systems, etc., you can plug them together with data cloud and things like that. You can actually still get the same results if you are looking for a specific project. But then again, my counsel would be to focus very much on what you're trying to achieve. So it's not a candle to boil the ocean.
What types of hurdles have you found have been generally common among different people and different clients in terms of the sort of data transformation that you've been pushing them on and helping them with?
I actually think there's a fear of jumping in because they feel that they're not ready. And whilst that's understandable, the best thing to do with AI is to look at your business and to see what needs fixing. What are your priorities and your goals? Take out those use cases, then take them as the strands, and then work with the technology to solve those. A thing that I worry about, it's not necessarily that I'm seeing yet. I worry about the governance, and also RCO Zara for the UK says that, effectively we're the last human workforce. After our generation, it's going to be AI and human. And so our narrative at Salesforce is how can AI and technology help the humans? How can generative AI assist us? And so in my mind, then, we really should be looking about some massive changes, cultural changes, about how we then change the way we work. Because if we are augmenting and leveling up the human race, then do we still do things in the same way? Probably not. So you probably need to take a step back almost and like I say, look at the problems, but then look at it from a much bigger holistic point of view. So I don't think I answered your question really. Every customer has got different challenges, which is unique to what their business is feeling at that time, macro, microeconomics. But if I was to zoom out, I would say it's all about the use cases and what you're trying to achieve.
What's front of mind for you, Robin? Is it these sort of lofty concerns, issues that there needs to be some consideration of, surely, or is it really the outcomes that you're trying to push?
So I think we need to think about these things at two levels. I think Felicity's quite right, is that you kind of have to focus first, as with all technology, new technology that comes, the most important thing is to focus on what value you're driving for your customers and your business, and then how can that technology help you? I think if we start from a world of I need to do AI, then we end up with things that are kind of flashy and fun, but ultimately fail because they're not driving real customer benefit or value. But I think there are kind of two levels. There's one which is the sort of and I like the word augment. I think I'm passionate about using AI to make people perform better or help people perform better. And I don't like the way I think some people think of it as to be replacing people. I don't see that as a likely outcome. I see AI as being very powerful in analyzing large amounts of data and presenting it in ways that makes it easy to draw insight from. I think it's quite dangerous if we start, handing over to the AI the insights themselves, because I feel like AI is very good at pattern matching. It is, frankly, pattern matching. And therefore, if you're looking at something that's happened 100 times before, it's a very good model for, okay, which one of the 100 times is this one now like? But if you're looking at something unique that's not happened before, you're looking at a new problem, AI is going to appear to help you, but actually not be very helpful. Humans are, I think, always, at least in the foreseeable future, going to be better at genuine problem solving rather than pattern matching against historic events.
I quite like the idea that there's never like a right or a wrong. There's just different consequences, different outcomes. So if you're asking AI for help and it gives you an answer, do this, do that, do it X, Y, Z, then that automatically assumes there is a right answer. Whereas actually, I think it's much broader. But that is what's exciting with the agentic layer, in terms of it does also consider the different possibilities in terms of giving you options.
Where are you, Robin, in terms of integrating agentic into the work that you guys are doing? And is that helpful for?
So I think we're early, is the honest answer. I think most of what we've got on the ground now is, obviously we've got tools helping our own staff be more effective. So I see material increases in productivity with coding and testing and that sort of thing in my own teams. And I see that kind of model replicated across other teams. We are starting to use AI for our customers in helping them with things like frequently asked questions and, again, relatively straightforward use cases that aid a little bit of efficiency but don't really transform the world. What we're looking to do and what we're beginning to pilot and play with is the capability to sort of automate something closer to deep analytics and give our customers real insight into where the market's going, how they could be more successful, what do they need to do. These equivalents to you, no names involved, but in general, these equivalents to you are doing better than you because they're doing things more like this. They're coming with products more like this. They're behaving more like this. So you might be more successful if you try some of those tactics, I think is, really potentially powerful. And for our visitors, ever more precise and personalized recommendations down to kind of real time. You just did this. If you liked it, you should try this. If you didn't like it, you should maybe try this. And helping people to get, ultimately we're back to the point that says we're helping people to get more value out of the show. So in the same way as I don't believe AI replaces humans, I think it augments them. I don't think technology or AI specifically is going to replace face-to-face events. I think people love face-to-face stuff. So we're focused on adding more value, making people more effective at show. So if one of our small businesses walks away with a better list of connections, a better book of business for the year out of our show because we've created some digital tools powered by AI that support that, I'm super happy with that as an outcome. I don't want particularly to replace the face-to-face event, and I can't see myself sort of going to the pub on a virtual tool either.
We
it's
tried
just not
that,
something
didn't we, in COVID, and it didn't work.
And it didn't work, right? So we're huge believers in the power of face-to-face, but I think there's also a lot more we can do to make people more efficient, more effective, and provide them with greater insight.
What's the general advice that you tend to give, Felicity, in terms of looking at agentic? It sounds like a lot of companies are still relatively early in that process, but the conversation has now been going on for quite a few months, not better part of a year at this point. So is there a specific nervousness around that particular digital transformation?
I mean, not for me. It's so exciting because everything has been. We talk about being in a revolution, and I really believe that is where we are in terms of the technology and the culture. So what we're doing with customers in terms of innovating with the data, driving that fan engagement or that customer engagement, really modernizing the technology, is all helping to deliver good, exciting opportunities and for deep value across.
In terms of the advice that you generally give to someone in terms of getting them started properly on that agentic transformation journey and really incorporating that type of AI into their work practice, what are some things that you tend to recommend or you tend to see as really important to get down early?
Yeah, well, for us, the most important thing is security and trust. I mean, trust is our number one value at Salesforce. So it's really, really important. With our AI tools, without going into the pitch, the trust boundary is something that we take incredibly seriously. So you can feed your own company data into the Agentforce platform, and you can effectively choose your ILM. And then the data that you're putting in stays within that ring fence. And then the technology then gives you the answer coming out of the other side. It's really difficult, isn't it? Because you want people to be trailblazers and to use technology and to have fun with Gemini and ChatGPT and all the rest of it. But at the same time, there are risks involved because then you are literally just downloading your company data into the wide world. So that's advice I would have there, is to really think about what your policies are for AI within your business. In terms of starting with AI, I think I've said it quite a few times now, it's what is important to your business. And then you have a workshop to go through what that use case would look like and how could AI help you. So, a great question to start some of these workshops would be, what if you had an additional 200 people in your business? What would you do with those 200 people?
Robin, what excites you and what daunts you about AI?
Well, I think, again, Felicity's put it very well. I think the prospect of having 200 additional staff is a very exciting one. And if I can draw, if you like, an analogy or an example, when we have VIP buyers, big people who have, billion-dollar budgets come to some of our events, we arrange for people to kind of meet them at the door. We've done some pre-work with them to understand what they're trying to achieve, who they want to meet. We know exactly what their agenda is, what they're looking for, and they get effectively a hand-built custom experience. Now, I'd love to scale that so that every single visitor to our show gets a hand-built customer experience, but I can't with humans because it would be unmanageable in the show to have a person for every person, but it's just too expensive. But again, AI can get to that place where you begin to create digital tools that feel like you're getting a one-to-one customer experience, and I think that's hugely exciting. And as I say, I think the idea for all of our staff to be more effective and more efficient as well. Again, not looking to reduce the number of staff. I've never had a technology team where my business has gone, you're doing too much, slow down. That's just not an experience I've ever had. They've always said do more. So I can now start to actually do more. So that's super exciting. I think the daunting pieces come around, again, as Felicity touched on, things like privacy, security, bias. We need to be really careful. We love the fact that Salesforce is so careful with our data because we have to be so careful with our customers' data. We can only do the analytics we do if and because our customers trust us enough to give us the data with which to do that. It's a value exchange. You tell us about you, we'll give you good insights into how to be more effective and how to create more value. And if we ever lose that, then our business really struggles. Right? We need that. That's what we feed on, is that data, in order to give people the value in exchange. So I think that's the kind of daunting piece, is the whole, where's our data going in those models? How's it being managed? And also, as I say, things like bias in the models, because I think those can be, in certain circumstances, that can be quite scary when you actually step back from it. You look at any individual answer and you go, yeah, that makes sense. And then you group them up and you go, hang on a minute, it's always answering like this, or it's always, it has a tendency to do that. And I think that's a bit worrying for me. I'm not worried about Cyberdyne systems or being replaced, like the world being taken over by AI. I don't think that's going to happen. And as I touched on earlier, I think certainly in the foreseeable future, the human input is going to be that genuine problem solving rather than kind of historic pattern matching. And I really think that people excel at that. And if we can get our people to kind of get out of the day-to-day admin and focus on the value, then I think AI can do that for both our staff and our customers. And I think that's hugely exciting. So, I mean, I'm very excited about scaling what would have previously been quite extensive personal data, manual analytics. And I think that can provide fantastic value.
Just a quick example. So I run a team, media and sports team, and we have our own Slack channel, as you would imagine, lockdown, and between myself and my direct reports, we discuss various things. And we've got Agentforce in this Slack channel. So we ask each other questions. How do you do this? What's our point of view of this? How many customers have done X, Y, Z? And then before we can even respond, or, perhaps, RX has done this, Agentforce also then answers for us, which is so cool. And like you say, I mean, that's a menial task really, to be researching and going through lots of documents, speaking to lots of people to find out what the stats are, what the customer use cases could be potentially, what the references are, etc., the success rates, the business value, and it's just served up. So the time, that speed and pace is phenomenal. Today, for example, as well, I've got meetings all day, just going to run from, meeting to meeting. My agenda's been drawn up by AI. My talking points has been given by AI, and the summary as well. So that's why I'm excited, because I can get on and do the job I love rather than the preparation. My mum can't listen to this. I do prepare, Mum.
There's just a quality assurance aspect that the human needs to be involved with. It's great to have the rest of your notes and the agenda written out for you. You just need to make sure that it's accurate.
Yeah, and also, the human mind is creative, and you can join the dots up how you wish. You can decide how you get from A to B. AI is providing you with options, and it does so in a very, very fast way. Bias, as Robin said, is worrying. As long as you've got your mind open to that. And I think a lot of people do, because we've been educated in how to read data for quite some time, or certainly the people in that world, because data, in effect, can prove any point if you display it in the way that suits your needs. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit similar.
So where are we going with all of this? Robin, I guess, what's next, first of all, at RX Global, and where do you see things moving in 5 years' time for the industry more broadly?
So I think for RX Global, as I kind of touched on, we're focusing on, for our exhibitors, giving more and deeper insights into how to be successful, dashboards on how they're doing, dashboards that compare them to the rest of the market, and insights into where the market's going to help them make those critical decisions of which particular products to bring to the show, exactly how to get the best value out of the show. So that's our real focus for our exhibitors. And for our visitors, our focus is trying to drive a real personal experience that can be dynamic as they come to the show and do things, and we can help them decide what to do next, who to meet next, and how to get the best value out of the show. So I think we're really going deep on those two experiences for our customers. And I suspect that for the industry, if we look 5 or 10 years out, well, 5 years out, in the current, it's moving so fast. I think the industry will quickly divide into those that can provide that sort of capability and those that struggle. I mean, the events industry is very fragmented. It's got a relatively small number of big players and then thousands of tiny players. And I think, honestly, as our customers get used to that experience, and though they will start to demand it, and I think that will make it hard for some of the smaller players. So I think there's likely to be a consolidation in the industry, honestly, because I just can't see, as you say, Felicity, we've done a decade or more of prep work to get ourselves into a good position, and now we're rolling out things at scale. That's expensive stuff, and I just can't see how some of the smaller players could keep up with that. I mean, good luck. I hope they do. I'm not particularly looking to take over the world, but I do think it will see a sort of two-tier reality emerging of those that can drive that experience and those that just can't.
Felicity, 2030, 5 years away, crystal ball moment. Where do you see things going?
In 10 years' time, I think the convergence of industry is going strong. I think the blurred lines are going to be even more blurry. I think there's going to be, media, retail, all of our industries coming together to do a holistic experience. You don't really have as many single points of interactions with companies. They're all sort of coming together. So I think in 10 years, I think we'll see a lot more of that.
Oh, I'll be keeping an eye out. And if things change, I'm sure I'll reach back out to you to discuss further. But Robin, Felicity, it's been a real pleasure. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Media Leader Podcast. Our executive producer is me, Jack Benjamin. Special thanks to our production partner, Trisonic. You can find all our episodes on the podcast platform of your choice or on our website at uk.themedialeader.com. But do please remember to subscribe to be notified of our next episode. You can also subscribe to our newsletter at The Media Leader to receive daily coverage of all the biggest news stories in media and advertising. From all of us at The Media Leader, I'm Jack Benjamin. See you next time.